in the last couple months. It's unbelievable. I lost my job and I started a new company, and today we just got a dog.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, so it's been really pretty crazy. How about you, like other than water main breaks and stuff?
We just took our dog to the groomer for the first time, and she's so fluffy. She looks like a stuffed animal. It's awesome. She's a big Sheltie, and she's just a big puffball right now, which is really cute.
That always reminds me of that Pink Panther cartoon when he got stuck in the dryer and he came out and went.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what she looks like. I love it. It's so fun. So things are good. They're just super, super busy. We're wrapping up the foundation sphere. And so I'm trying to get all you guys squared away so we can get into Sphere 2 next week. And, you know, client work and reliquary stuff. It never stops. It's the same thing. Lots of busy.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're doing your level 19 critique. And then we're going to talk about Sphere 2. Are you thinking of seeing what else the Arcanum has to offer? Or are you thinking of staying with me?
Oh, you know what? I said that I'm really comfortable with change, but I'm quite happy with you. So I'd prefer to stay if I can.
Okay. Very good. All right. I'm going to screen share so we can take a look at your images, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do with Sphere 2.
Cool.
Okay. So can you see that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So tell me about this image.
Yeah, this was actually on the way back from a place called Johnson Canyon that we had gone. I lived in Calgary my whole life, and this place is like maybe 2 hours or so from our place, and I never went there, and it's so beautiful. We want to go back and explore the rest of it. But on the way back, on the side of the highway, there's this little place where you can pull off and rest, like one of those rest stops, and they have this incredible view and a panorama of the same area. But I just love that. That's Rundle Mountain, they call it, and it's just a really unique looking mountain. It's just quite interesting, and I like the way the light was hitting the back face of it like that.
Okay. So have you been doing landscape alongside? I know you were kind of focusing on more portraiture for the business, and now we're thinking of switching that, but have you been at least hobby landscaping throughout? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I like this image. I think the composition's beautiful, and I love that the leading lines of the other mountains and the trees sort of all center in on the main mountain here, and the light. But I have to be honest, I think this one would kind of go into the snapshot category for me. So it's
okay.
It's a little more like I wouldn't expect anybody else that had a decent camera at that spot to not get this shot.
Ah, okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it's not that it's a bad photo, because it isn't, and it's properly exposed, and I like the composition of it. It's working. The sky's a little dull in that it doesn't have any clouds or texture, but I don't know that bothers me, because it allows the mountain to be the star of the image without any conflict. And there's so much texture from the trees and stuff below that it's actually sort of a nice like visual break for people to not have more information.
Okay.
But I think that you can do better.
Okay. I like that.
Okay. Tell me about this one.
So the other day I did something that I wanted to do for a long time, and that's take my new mountain bike out for a bike ride, but I threw my camera on my back, and my intention was to do a combination mountain bike and camera shoot, photo shoot. So I was just like, I don't know, I was just kind of in zone, and I was just like finding all these really neat things in the middle of nowhere. And these flowers were just starting to bloom, and I'm like, I got down on the ground and I'm crawling around. All these people are going by on their bikes looking at me like I'm strange. But yeah, there's something about the image, just the way the colors work, and then the way the one leaf is coming out towards the camera, and it looks almost like a hand, saying, "Here I am, give me your hand," kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm really quite happy with this one.
I really like this one as a whole. I really love the shallow depth of field and that you're sort of playing with macro, even if you're not necessarily using like macro style focus points. But it definitely allows enough of the information behind it to make it visually interesting and still understand that they're clouds and they're other plants without any of it competing with the flower. And I like that the colors repeat throughout the image, so you're doing really well with color theory here. And I'm a big fan of noting the little things, so I love that you do this. You've had a couple of images. You had a really good one that you shared early when you joined, of like, it was some kind of plant with like seed pods or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love that one.
That one, like almost like the shadow or the flowers behind it, kind of almost exactly the same. Like yeah, that one was. I really thought that one turned out nice.
Yeah, I love that one. Like, I would buy a print of that one for my office.
Oh, cool.
So, I know that you're definitely branching into landscape. I'm not sure, you've met Bruce Clement in like the Convergence group. He's in Sphere 2. He's doing like macro versus major. So he's sort of focusing on these enormous landscapes and these things that you can stand and feel small and marvel at, but then also doing these incredible macro work within the landscape. So it'll be like a shot of like this entire field or mountain, like your first shot, and then this image of the flowers somewhere in there, and he'll go find something that's worthy of being a macro. So
cool.
I could definitely see you following suit, because I think that you have undiscovered talent in the macro nature kind of realm, and it's something that I would like to see you explore more, because they're some of my favorite images from you.
Okay,
tell me about rocks.
This is so bizarre. Like, it's this almost like there's this long area where the bike path kind of rides off into the hills, and it's almost all just grass and dirt for like as far as the eye can see. And then all of a sudden there's this pile of rocks there, and I mean, obviously people have stacked them up and stuff, but I kind of went, oh, that's neat, and I thought, I'm just going to take a picture of it. So I kind of took it from like 360 degrees. I kind of went all around it. And this is the one that I like the most. I like having just a little patch of blue sky in the background. And then the kind of the rocks are sort of in the center, but because they kind of lean off to the right, they almost look in the rule of thirds kind of idea. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's hard to explain what it is about it that kind of gets me, but it seems neat.
Yeah, it is. I like it too. And I think it's the kind of thing that's part of the charm of why the people collect and pile rocks, is that you look at it and you're like, oh, that's cool. You know, so I definitely think that you're seeing the right things. I think a little more interest in the angles that you're choosing to shoot from would take them from expected to extraordinary. So again, it's not a lack of talent, because we know that you have the talent and the skill and the knowledge of a professional, but I think it's the fact that it's from the same angle that I would expect a non-photographer to take a picture. So most people take them either at standing or, you know, sitting, squatting kind of things. So if you were to say lay flat on the ground and take it from literal ground level, that's an angle that most people don't see things. So you take interesting things and you photograph them from unfamiliar angles, and that's what starts to create exceptional interest in the image. And I think that you're staying in what I would refer to as the safe zone of where most people see things from. I'm not a big fan of the strip of blue at the top. I don't think that it's necessarily adding anything to the image, and I think if the focus is the rocks, that actually having it completely green might actually make for a stronger composition, because then there's nothing visually competing with the rocks. So I'd be curious to try a couple of different crops with it and see if cropping and getting rid of some of the other space would change it at all. I do like that these are very natural. Like whether there is or not, there doesn't seem to be a lot of retouching going into it. So it becomes a little more honest. And I think that we get away from that with portraiture because there's so much weight put in on retouching and airbrushing and liquefying and stuff like that. But the rocks don't care. They're like, yeah, I'm completely round. It's okay. So I like that we have all the texture and the color elements. And I think if you want to stick with that more natural, this is what it actually was visually in terms of your color and your composition, that angles and light are going to become very, very important to you getting shots that are very different from everybody else's.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me about this one.
So I think this, if I remember correctly, this wasn't too far away from the rock pile, but being spring, there's a lot of dead stuff around. There's a lot of brand new life emerging from the dead stuff. And I believe this is the one where I actually took my macro lens out. The other flower you were talking about was just 50 mil 1.4. And then this one I have my 105 mil macro, and I'm just shooting on a crop sensor, so it's not exactly that, but it was I don't know. I took some much closer shots of it, and they just didn't really do much for me. But I think this one looks more. It tells more of the story of life emerging from all the dead around it, sort of, and yeah.
I love the concept of the storyline that you're going with, that, you know, new growth and new life comes from decay and winter. I think that's a really strong message that a lot of people can relate to on a lot of different levels besides just the seasons changing. I think this stick particularly right here competes a little bit with the main contender just because of the color saturation, because this color isn't really showing up anywhere else. Okay. Like it's obviously here too, but it's more muted and blurred, so it doesn't compete as much. But this like bright saturation of orange here grabs my attention visually. So I keep paying attention up here as opposed to down here.
Okay.
I might go in and just add a little more blur in post. To take some of this out so that it's all about the life, because there's so much texture on the ground that I feel like this is getting lost in the rest of the image. So I love the concept and I totally see what you were going for, but I think that there's room for improvement in the composition and the area we found, and it may just be that you have to like kind of wander around the field for a little bit at that time of year to find like the right plant that has the right kind of life and new growth that's in the right area that is, you know, showcasing, you know, winter's remnants without it being too texturally overpowering. Like it is definitely a fine art to find the right pieces in them. And some of it's luck, I think. So food for thought moving forward.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, tell me about this one.
Okay, so remember not too long ago, it was Steve, right, that was doing the kind of blur kind of step. I'm standing there and I'm looking at this grove of trees in the middle of nowhere, and I'm kind of like, you know, I like it. Is there something about it that I really like? But, you know, I don't know. I snapped a couple shots and they weren't all that interesting. And I thought, hey, remember when Steve did that blurry thing? So I did a couple quick vertical ones. They turned out really cool. And I thought, what if I did a little bit of an angled one? And then I ended up with like 4 or 5 I truly love. But this one just was so unique because of the almost 45-degree angle, or maybe not 40, maybe 35-degree angle. But I don't know. I was really surprised that it worked out so nice.
Yeah, I like the motion with it. I've seen a lot of people sort of playing with the artsy kind of side of it, and the inclination is to go vertical with trees so that it follows like the lines of the trunks. or to
Mhm.
go horizontal so that it follows the horizon lines and the land lines. So I like that you took it and put it on an angle, and it gives it a lot of motion. It's sort of where I think photography meets painting almost, because it's more about how you feel, like the feeling of the trees than the look at the trees. And I like that because it leaves it open to interpretation with everyone. So I like that you're experimenting and thinking outside the box of photography.
Oh, excellent.
Okay. So that's all five, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let me turn off screen share. Okay. So we're going in a totally different genre. How are you feeling making the transition?
Well, even though I was doing mostly portraits and stuff in the past, I think that I've always really enjoyed when we went out for a family hike or something. I always enjoyed, and actually my wife and my kids also enjoy grabbing the camera and taking pictures of trees and plants and rocks and whatever. And so, I look back and I really have quite a collection over the years of these types of photos. And although I've never actually put a lot of focus and effort into, really getting good at it, or actually paying a whole lot of attention to what I'm doing, I've just always really loved doing it. And so lately, going out and actually intentionally doing, like landscapes and macros of stuff, I've found it to be really soothing, and I quite enjoy it. I have printed off little 4x6s of a whole bunch of my pictures, and I kind of have them by the fireplace and stuff, and I actually really enjoy looking at them. So I must be doing something right if I'm enjoying looking at my pictures. And now I think, like, if this is if this is a path to go forward on, I have to figure out a few things. Like, first of all, I have to figure out how to make them not look like tourist snapshots, or fairly decent photographer took picture at same place everybody else takes pictures at. But I also need to look at potential ways of monetizing. I know there's all kinds of opportunities for magazines and encyclopedias and art for walls and gallery shows, and I sort of have kind of a general idea of what you could do in stock photography and that kind of thing, but I've never had to or desired to pursue that in any way. So I'm kind of green. I feel really green at this point.
I think this is the part where tough love comes in, which I'm never shy about.
No.
So let me preface it with saying that I think it's really, really hard to switch genres, a lot more than we give it credit for. Like, my photos of landscape would not look professional right now if I decided to make the jump, because I have no experience, and it's totally different lighting and it's totally different methods. And so as far as improving on the artistry, I honestly don't know how much of a help I'm going to be, because it's not my area of expertise. I'd be right there with you learning. However, there are a couple of very, very good landscape photographers that are in Sphere 2 that I think would be good resources for you. There's also a couple of masters that have really awesome Sphere 2s that are landscape focused. Ron Clifford is one, and Angela B. Pan is another that I would highly, highly recommend. If you haven't looked at their work, I would definitely recommend that, at minimum, if you aren't going to study under them, that you connect with them on social media and check out what they're doing, and
Okay.
look for them in the library and get some of their expertise from what they've been teaching other apprentices, and when we do different critiques and things as a whole. If I was going to switch genres right now and do landscape, one of the first things that I would be doing is researching the best landscape photographers and people whose work resonates with me and that I want to be able to create like. Because I believe all things that you learn through mimicry first. We learn how to talk We learn how to walk. We learn how to feed ourselves. We learn how to dance. We learn how to photograph. Everything that we do, we watch and observe, and then we mimic. And then when we get good, then we open up to artistic expression. So that's definitely going to be the first steps for you, is really kind of defining who you want to be as a landscape artist. And what you want people to feel and what you want the reaction to be when people feel your work. And one of the best ways to define that is to go look at other images and figure out which images and which artists give you that feeling, So when you look at an image and you're like, oh, that's what you want other people to have. So if you understand what makes you feel that way, then you'll understand who you're going to gravitate towards and what kind of work you're going to want to create that will give that feeling that you're trying to give to your people. So I think a lot of research, like it is starting over, even though you're still picking up a camera, it's a totally different thing. Saying that because I'm a boudoir or a fine portrait or a family photographer, I can now do landscapes is like saying because I speak English, I can now speak Chinese. Same thing. It's still language, but it's still the basic thing. But, just because you can say, I love creating beautiful imagery with portraiture doesn't mean that you can do it with landscape any more than you can say, I love you in English, and instinctively what it is to say, I love you in Chinese, or Finnish. So it's the same kind of thing. So essentially you're learning a whole new language. And right now I think you're speaking like a little bit of high school French. So, we need to focus in and figure out exactly, what it is that, you want to say and how you want to say it, what your new dialect's going to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So, I think that it's going to be really beneficial, to you to spend Sphere 2 focused on art. However, you said that your job's just closed and changed. So how important is it to you to be making money off of photography right now?
Well, I'm definitely going to be revamping my website to handle family portraits and some of the other more common money makers. Other than weddings, obviously. But it's again, I'm in the middle of like three things: photography, getting a new contract position, make sure I can pay my mortgage, and starting a new company that I'm pretty excited about. So it's kind of like when I didn't have a whole lot anyways. So I really have to, focus and task switch, and any chance the family goes out for a walk or whatever, I need to sling the camera on my back and make sure that I'm always getting photography in, regardless of what situations. So I'm in a discovery phase right now, I guess.
Okay, so but going back to the original question, how important is it to you to be making money from photography right now?
It's kind of a bit of a loaded question because I want a new camera and I generally pay for my photography stuff through photography. So at the very least, I'll be honest, and I want to earn a bunch of money from photography to pay for a new camera and continue to pay for my website and all my other stuff that my photography always really paid for. Could I make a living off of this? I don't know. That could be, an option, but I think it would be a little ways down the road before I was earning any significant income from it, especially with the whole changing genres and trying to figure that out. But then anything can happen, and I really believe in manifesting the future, and I'm definitely not closing my doors on that. But again, paying the rent and feeding the family's got to be utmost priority, regardless of what my current dream is.
Right. Well, it's a couple of different things. Knowing a little bit about your situation, I'm going to tell you that Yes, you're starting over. So same thing. If you were going back to the original analogy, if you were a translator and you were being paid by people to translate from English to German, and then all of a sudden you were like, now I want to be in English to Dutch, or Chinese or French, whatever. Yes, you have to learn the language and be proficient at it before people will pay you to be a French translator like they're paying you to be a German translator. So in the same regard, you're starting over in a new genre, so it's going to be a lot harder to make money, let alone decent money from it. You already have a lot of skill, a lot of ability, and most of your notoriety is coming in from different kinds of portraiture. Some of those you don't want to be in anymore, which is totally fine. But now I'm going to tell you from experience, I've been having the same problem. I have been building all of my notoriety over the better part of more than half a decade as a boudoir photographer. And now that I'm doing the reliquarium, which is all fine art and composites, it's tough. I'm not getting the same response with the following on any of my social media. I'm not getting the same amount of likes and shares, so people aren't marketing for me. I'm not reaching my potential market because they're different people now.
Yeah.
And it is going to take you time, and it's going to take you more time than it's going to take me, and it's been taking me a while already, because you don't have as big a following to begin with to naturally, organically reach out to more people. On the other hand, starting from scratch, you have the ability to completely build a new market, which is good. But it will take longer. So if making money from photography is a priority and we're just moving away from like the boudoir and nudes, but we're going to stay with portraits or headshots or family photos or children or things like that in that genre, that's going to be much easier to make money off of than landscapes, because it's a totally different artistry that you have to perfect. And then it's a totally different business mindset and marketing mindset and how you market the two. Because when you have children come in, their parents are buying the images. When you do family photos, the people that are in front of your camera are the people that are buying it. When you take a picture of a mountain, the mountain does not buy a print of itself, no matter how beautiful it is. So it's a totally different mindset. You're selling as an artist now instead of as a service provider. So that's a totally different thing. It's like you can be an artist that creates stemware, and then people buy it for the functionality of being able to drink out of glasses, which is totally different than a glass sculptor that creates sculpture pieces out of glass that are purely for decoration. One is art and the other serves a function. With portrait photography, it's very service based because it's about preserving moments and memories and heirlooms and moving through and photographing significant events and times in our life and, people that we love. That is service based. People come in with a specific course and a specific reason. When you're photographing art or landscape or wildlife or architecture, things like that, that's art based. People buy it because your image moves them. And the argument is it's a lot easier to be a sucky portrait photographer than it is to be a sucky landscape photographer and make a living. And the reason why is because it's about the person in the image. If you take a bad image of my kid is still adorable. I still love them. I'm probably still going to buy them. Right. Parents will settle for mediocre photography or even bad photography with horrific lighting at high noon, and motion blur because their kid is laughing in the photo on the swings, and all their kid did from ages 4 to 6 is swing on that swing. It's about the emotional attachment to the subject and what is going on in that image. People will not have that for a specific place, at least not to the same intensity, because we love other beings more than we love things, in theory.
Right.
So you have to step up your game. You can be a mediocre portrait photographer. I don't think that you can be a mediocre fine art photographer. You have to be exceptional. And that's the other problem, is that there's also millions of search results for everything that you're shooting. There are millions of people taking pictures, let alone, the millions of other people that aren't even photographers that are just visiting there as tourists taking photos. So in order to compete with them, you're oversaturated. On the upside, you have a much bigger market potential. Because if you take a picture of my kid, no matter how beautiful it is and how amazing it is, chances are that, you know, Bruce isn't going to buy my family portrait to hang on his wall. Because it's not his family. People are going to be like, who are those guys? You know?
Yeah.
But he may absolutely be moved by an image you create of a landscape and want to hang that on his wall. And I can hang it on mine, and the bank down the street can hang it on theirs because they have a view from their back window of it. And, you know, so-and-so in a different state entirely will buy it because it's the one place they've always wanted to go that they'll never see, you know, like, so the potential market widens out exponentially. So you can make a lot more money per image.
Right.
So
right.
you have a couple of options and a couple of hard choices that are in front of you. And if you're about creating your own destiny, then I think you're in an influx right now where a lot of things are changing, and that's usually the universe pushing you to grow. I'm a big, big believer in that. So the fact that everything is sort of upheaving for you right now tells me that you're stagnant and that things aren't moving, and it's shaking you up to make a major change right now. You get to decide what that is. So I don't know what the details are around the other business that you're starting, but if that's you starting it, then that's you making the conscious decision to not do it around photography, which means you're stepping away from the potential income with it.
There's a big photography and video component of it. It's just a really brief thing. It's called capturinglegacies.com is my site, and it's about essentially doing biographies, but with quite a bit more involved. And so we would be going in and doing video and photography and audio recording of the person about talking about their life, and then we would put together a beautiful leather-bound keepsake book and a website and everything for them to share their life with their families and stuff. And it goes on and on and on from there. I could talk for hours, but yeah, photography is a huge part of that, because while we're interviewing the person, I'd be taking photos of them, getting, you know, beautiful portraits of them while they're sharing their moments and stuff. And then there's a photo retouching of their old photos, and there's quite a bit of photography tie-in with it. So that's kind of a natural fit. Okay. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting.
Okay, and this is you starting your own business and company. It's just yours?
I have a business partner, but yes, okay. It's my own stuff, yeah.
Okay, and we're hoping that this is going to be financially viable. So we're not working for anybody else right now is my question, I guess.
Correct. Okay. Yeah.
How much money do you have to make to offset what you were making at the job that you just left?
It was a six-figure salary. So up here in Canada, it's like a lot less than I would have gotten down there in the US, of course. But yeah, it's something that traditionally photographer incomes don't reach unless you're Trey Radcliffe or somebody who's really doing a very successful career.
That's a really long way of not answering it. How much money do you have to make a month?
About $5,000.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I'm looking for is a number. If you say I want to make a lot of money, that's like saying I want to go visit Europe. Like, oh, well, that's kind of why it ended. Where are we talking? You know? Or like you're in Canada, that's like being like, oh, I'd like to go to the US. Well, are we talking California or Pennsylvania? Are we talking Texas? Or are we talking Montana? You know, so having set numbers really helps to kind of break it down, because $5,000 a month sounds like a lot of money. Trey Radcliffe makes way more than that, by the way.
Of course.
That's like his tip of money. Just to make it. But it is close to my income. So you know, for some people that's a lot of money, and they're happy if they make $200 a month off of their photography. So it just depends. But if we start to break it down and you're looking at it, what's the average minimum wage for, like, say, the people working at like the fast food places up there?
Oh, that's a really good question. I believe minimum wage in Alberta is about $11 an hour.
Okay. So $5,000 a month, right? We'll say there's 30 days in a month. if you were working every single day, if you were working 30 days a month, that breaks down to about $166 a day, right? Which, assuming you were working an 8-hour day, comes out to about $20 an hour, which I'm guessing isn't terribly outpriced. It might be on the higher end, but for an average person, an adult that's been in the workforce for, say, 10 years, maybe has their bachelor's degree, that's pretty common around here. Is that super high for you?
No. That's a construction worker kind of could make a little more than that. So it's not impossible. No.
Okay. So now let's go out of that for the 5,000 and say that you're working, we'll say same thing, 4 weeks. If you're taking off Saturday and Sunday, that's 8 days. So let's say just 20 days a week you're working. That puts you at about $250 a day divided by an 8-hour day is about $31.25 an hour. Does that sound reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at $250 a day, that's where we start to break down, like, how many hours do you want to put in and what are you doing? So I don't know, if you're starting this company, or you and your partner in the process of like kind of figuring out where the prices are going to be and what you guys are going to offer in terms of service and products, how much say do you have over that?
I'm a majority shareholder, so I have a lot of say, and we've gotten well past that. We've got all of the pricing and monetization and sort of the plans of how we were going to service our clients and stuff is pretty much laid out.
Okay.
And it's a matter of marketing now and getting some projects on board to show that that we're going to start with my dad, so we have something to show for it. And,
okay. Is the pricing that you guys have worked out, is that conducive to getting you to that $5,000 a month?
Oh yes, definitely.
Okay. So, I mean, I think that if you're starting a new company, from a business perspective, if I was mentoring you solely on business, if you told me I quit my job or I lost my job, either way, I'm not working. I was making $5,000 a month, and now I'm going to start this new company, and I'm going to start a whole new genre of photography that I want to study and perfect. I would tell you that you're not going to be as successful at the new business. You don't have to choose which one, but I do think that a new business requires your time and your energy, because you have to be the artist and you have to be the owner of the company. And when it's a small business, there's multiple hats. So it's you guys handling the finances, and it's you guys handling the market and being the marketing department, and it's you guys handling the photography and the retouching. And, it's all on you, 100%, you and your partner. Now, you can divide that up and be half and half, but that still means that you're working 3 full-time jobs within the company by yourself. So to try to do that and to try to branch out into another area of photography and look at possible monetization options for it from the fine art perspective of making, say, prints of landscape and macro work, those are 2 totally different mindsets. I don't think that you can concentrate on both of them.
Okay.
So I would say either you spend Sphere 2 and it's based on the artistry of landscaping, and you keep moving forward with what you're doing with the capturing legacies thing on your own if you feel confident about that, or you build Sphere 2 around that, and we work on perfecting the business plan and making sure that all the numbers and everything and the amount of work that you're putting in is conducive to getting you to the point that you are making the income you want by the end of the year.
Cool.
And those are 2 very, very different paths, but those are the 2, based on what you're telling me and what you're showing me, those are the 2 directions I see you going in. But they are polar opposites. So you're either going east or you're going west.
Right.
I don't think you can go both directions in a small amount of time, but I do think that you can work on the business yourself and do what you need to do for that, and then use the Arcanum to just perfect your art and become more more proficient in the artistry, so that when you're ready to start implementing that and getting recognized and more notoriety as a fine art landscape photographer, that we have excellent quality to be able to hand out to you.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense.
So you can do that, or you can stay with me for business expertise and marketing, and we can work on the best marketing plans and business plans for a brand new company, because I love the idea of what you're doing with that. And I do think that that's important. I think that it would be very easy to take that. And if you were willing to put in the hours, and especially right now, if you're not working for another company and you don't have your day job, you have nothing but time to put in with this. So, and you have a partner that can split the cost with you. My guess would be that you could very easily build this into a 6-figure business within the first 12 months if you're willing to put in the work.
Cool.
So that just depends on you and where your priority is, because it can go either way. I would say that if you really do want to do the artistry side, and you really want to get better at being a landscape photographer and macro, that in all honesty, it would probably be better for you to study under a different master that has all kinds of expertise in landscape and macro, which isn't me. They'll be able to offer you more detailed critique. They know all the rules and the laws of the land, and they'll be able to have all the tips and tricks and speak from experience. I don't. We do have a couple other landscape photographers in here that I think would be helpful, but I honestly don't know that I would be the best person for your time and money investment if you're looking to improve solely on landscape photography. Portraiture, I'll go with you all day, but it's not my thing. And to take a newbie that doesn't have everything down and put them with a master that doesn't study that genre and isn't proficient at it, I think is not a recipe for you covering the most ground possible in terms of getting from where you are to where you want to be as a landscape photographer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So what do you think? What would you like to do in Sphere 2?
The artistic side is really appealing, but at the same time, the business side is kind of like a pretty big chance to get some great information and great advice as we start out, instead of having to learn everything the hard way. So it's really tough. It's a really tough decision. I'm probably going to have to give that some thought. I don't think I can answer that right this minute.
Okay. So in working with you and in knowing where you are, I don't necessarily think that you're a better portrait photographer than you are a landscape or macro photographer. I just think you're inexperienced in one and you have a lot of experience in the other. You know, like I think if you gave the next year to nothing but landscape and macro, that you would probably rival or exceed your talent as a portrait photographer, you know, because what you put your energy into grows. That's just the truth of it. I would say that if you decide that you want to focus on the landscape stuff, you can absolutely, I'm not going to not send you an invite. If you want to stay with me, you absolutely can. And the bottom line is, if you stay for a couple of levels and then you feel like you're not growing or progressing the way you want or not getting what you want, we can always look at rehoming you with a landscape or a macro photographer partway through. Like you can always switch to one of their cohorts at level 23 or 28, you know,
okay.
Or study with them under Sphere 3. I'm just being honest about the fact that I feel I have more to offer you in terms of business and staying more towards the portraiture side, because that's my expertise. And especially at Sphere 2, because it's focused and you're paying the door fee, I want you to get your money's worth and your time investment.
Sure.
So I just want to be honest about that so you know what you're getting into, so you don't sign up for me with Sphere 2 and then be like, that was a total waste. Yeah. As far as the business side, if you're working with a partner, then I think being able to sit down with said partner and maybe do a one-on-one and run it past somebody else, because you two are talking and you're going back and forth, but it really helps to have outside perspective. So it would be really interesting to see you guys put together your business plan and everything that you have and all your pricing and stuff, and make a 10-level sphere map that will coincide with what you guys are doing anyway, and sort of just operate as like a checklist for you to get your ducks in a row to open your doors and start doing this.
Right.
And it may be that that helps you find any loopholes that you missed, or any holes in the business plan, or things that you hadn't thought of, or just gives you some inspiration, and just make sure that the numbers and everything that you're putting together are conducive to what you guys both have as expectations and hopes for what you want to be able to learn and earn. So I think that that would work. I would love to see, I actually think that you could do all of Sphere 2 pretty quickly, probably in the next 2 to 3 months, if it was broken down into minimal things. So it may be that you bring, you know, all of your marketing materials, you get the website done. If you're doing social media pushes or blogs, that you're getting those up and running so that they're ahead of the game and you have lead out time with them. Doing a session, like you said, working with other friends or family to do the first couple so that you have a couple to offer other clients, putting them together and bringing them in for critique so that you have unbiased eyes to go on them and ask if they, you know, would you buy this, essentially, which is the ultimate question. And would you buy this at this price tag? You know, we could do a lot with that are little check mark kind of things to get you ready so that by the time you hit level 30, you're really ready to hit the ground running and open the doors and go, this is what we're doing and how we're doing it. And we've worked out all of the kinks. One thing that I would say is a strength of mine is that I know how to make money quickly because I've had to. You know, we've had a couple of times where like Mike's orders have gotten cut, and the first time he did it, I wasn't working. Like I was a weekend warrior. I was shooting 1 to 2 weddings every couple of months kind of thing. And the kids were young. They were like 2 and 4. And then Mike's orders got cut and he didn't have them. And all of a sudden we had no income coming in. So that $5,000 a month that we usually make was gone. And then on top of that, the guy that was renting our second home, because we had moved here and he was in a lease to own, abandoned the property. So in the same 45 days, like within this like month and a half span, 3 weeks before Christmas, we added $2,000 a month in expenses because we had a whole second mortgage and all the utilities from our first house. And we took away $5,000 of income that we were counting on. So it was do or die. So I think that it can be either, you know, if you decide that you're doing this and you have a business partner, so, you know, you're committed to that and to him too, and this is where you want to be, then I would give this your sole focus for the next couple of months. Because the bottom line is if we can get you to that $5,000 a month and you have a business partner, or you can look at hiring other people, if this isn't what's on fire for you as far as creating these, you can just be the business owner, you know? Like you can come in, you can shoot at a higher rate. Now when I do weddings, I have a couple of photographers that work with me that can't market, or it's not a strength of theirs, that I will hire and pay to go shoot weddings for me. But if the client wants me, I charge like 5 times the amount, unless it's somebody that I deeply, deeply love. Because I don't want to do it. I want to do reliquarian stuff, and I like teaching. I don't want to shoot weddings anymore. I just don't.
Yeah.
But if you're going to pay me 10 grand, I guess I can show up for the day, you know, because that's more than I would make in a year, the first year that I opened. So, you know, it's just the trade-off. So if we can get you, if 5,000 is what you were making and we can double that and get you to 10, then you can decide, do I want to stay in and keep doing this and shooting here? Because then you can just go shoot landscape because you like it. Yeah. You know, and the money is irrelevant. Or we can build you a second business and you can shoot as fine art and make money off of that too. But I think focusing on this, getting this running and getting it to the point that it's lucrative, and then focusing on a different genre will be a much faster path to success than trying to do both simultaneously and juggling.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you. It sounds really Smart.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on what you were looking to get out of Sphere 2 or what you wanted to focus on? Like, no, you just dashed all my hopes and dreams and don't want to talk to you. I'm going to go try or drink.
Even when I was shooting the fine art boudoir and nude stuff, there was really an art focus there. Like I wanted to do, ultimately I wanted to do images where people would look at that and go, oh my God, that's beautiful. And it wouldn't be about who the person was in the image. It would be about how gorgeous that image was. So I've always had this focus on art. And I think that, you know, having, even if I wasn't selling a ton of them, having like a gallery show and being able to have, you know, people look at my pictures up on the wall and looking at them and going that you know, stunning. I'd love to have it on my living room wall or whatever. You know, grabbing people's hearts and with something that I created would be really, really satisfying to me, regardless of the money side of it. And you know, your comment about focus on the business now and focus on the art because you just love doing the art would be probably my ideal happy situation, because there's that old saying where if you really love doing something, the best way to start hating it is to charge money for it and start doing it for a living. But that's not necessarily always the case, of course.
I don't think nobody loses their passion because they're making money from it. They lose their passion because they're not making money from it and they're stressing out about not making money from it or having to make money from it.
That's fair. That's fair.
If I'm going to pay you $20,000 a month to go create landscapes, I guarantee you won't go, oh, I really lost my passion for it now that I have all this money. I just so bored, I want to cry, but I'll wipe these tears away with my $100 bills. It's when you go, you know, honestly, like it's when you get home and your wife goes, oh, did you shoot nice trees? That's great. How are we feeding our kids tonight? And you start bickering and going, or you're sitting and going, oh my God, how am I going to pay the utilities? They're going to shut off the electric and then I won't even be able to charge the camera batteries. That is what kills people's passion, is those thoughts and that catastrophizing. You know, and then people that are well-meaning loved ones going, you have a family to take care of, or you're grown up, when are you going to get a real job? And that negativity beating on you, that is what kills passion. Making money from art never does. Yeah. And I think that you can do either. I will tell you that you have a longer road to go making money from fine art landscape, just because it's new and there is a learning curve, and it's, you know, can it still be done? Yes, but you would have to get extremely creative about how you were making money. And honestly, we would have to be at a high volume, low cost rate because the quality isn't there yet. The bottom line is that I can't take any of the images that you brought to critique and print it in a 40 by 60 and put it next to one of Trey Ratcliffe's photos and command the same price. I just can't. You know, nobody's going to, and it's not that your work isn't good enough. It's that your work isn't good enough yet because you're new, you know, and I've seen some of his early work, you know, and it's the same thing, you know, and it's the same thing with mine too. That's why I did the article on the worst boudoir photographer, because I think it's important for everybody to know, like, we all start out sucking, you know, because we've never done it before. So you're just starting over again. I'm fine with you being art-based. If you want to be art-based and you want to focus on the landscape and the macro, then I would say that Sphere 2 would probably be built around figuring out what really inspires you and what makes for good images according to your personal taste. Like, what are the images that really move you? You said, I really want to be able to grab people's hearts with my work. You know, what are the images that grab your hearts that way? And I think if we went and we focused a little bit of time on that and maybe one level on that and really sort of defining that visually for you, where you created a series of images in a Pinterest board or a gallery of some kind or a list of links that were like, this is the work that moves me. Then we can start dissecting what it is that they have in common. You know, how much of it is being captured in camera as opposed to different retouching techniques. And we could work on taking your art from where it is to where you want it to be, however you define that. And we could even work on that coming as a collective whole, so that by the time you hit, say, level 29, that you have a collection of 30 images that are portfolio worthy for your website, or that would be the 30 images that would go in portfolio options to potential galleries for shows, you know? And so we could start building your focus that way. And we could work on some social media and other things with that, but then it would be art focused as a whole. And I think the people that are in there that are very good at it, I would particularly make very good friends with Bruce Clement and Sandra.
What was Sandra's last name again?
Sandra Jordan. They're both in Sphere 3, and they're both focused on landscape. Bruce is doing a combination between landscape and macro, and Sandra does beautiful landscape and architecture work. Those are two people that you could definitely look at. Sandra's also, her project is creating a book right now. So she's been working on Adfectus for all of Sphere 2, and putting together all of her images in a collection and picking like the top 27 to 30 images that are book worthy as a collection. And all of her Sphere 3 now, because she just graduated, is on how to put that book together, finance it, market it, and sell it. So it's like, it's a step-by-step process. So we can focus on all the art if that's what you want to do. And then of course, like, even if we're focused entirely on like a fine art landscape sphere, and we're just focused on growing the artistry and taking it up to exceptional images, that doesn't mean that when we sit down and talk, you can go, hey, by the way, since I'm working on the capturing legacies thing, what do you think about this as the marketing plan? Or do you think I'm at the right price point? Like, we can still have those conversations, but it would be you initiating it. My focus for you would be on the fine art stuff for landscape. So I think
lots to think about.
Yeah, I think you're in flux right now. I also think that you should give some thought and decide if you definitely want to stay with portrait and business based Sphere 2 if you're looking to focus on art. Because if I want to study marketing, I don't go to the best photographer for marketing. I go to the best marketing person I can find. So like, my friends are in the advertising and the marketing industry when I go looking for mentors on marketing. It's not even photography based. You know, if I want to know about publishing, I don't go to the people that have published, I don't go to the photographers that have published books. I go to the publishers and the publishing houses. Like, I go to the experts in that genre. So if you feel really strongly that you want to focus on becoming an exceptional fine art landscape photographer, I would be looking for the best fine art landscape photographer I could find to teach me, even if that's outside the Arcanum, you know, because that is always the shortest path to success. You want to find the person that is the best at it that you can study under. So I would give that some thought as well. But just know that me offering that is me trying to be the best mentor that I can to you, and knowing when I am not the best mentor for you for what you're trying to accomplish. Which absolutely doesn't mean that you can't come back at Sphere 3 or Sphere 4 when you're ready to market that. So I would say, with all the major upheaval and changes in your life in the last month, I would sleep on it for a couple of days, at least over the weekend. Maybe have some conversations with the wife and with your business partner and with yourself, and sort of get a better feel for what is it that I really want and what's going to be worth it for me to put my time and energy in. Because if you're starting a brand new business and you're spending time at home and you're doing that and you're still doing the fine art stuff, like, you're in a lot of different directions right now. So I would take some time and go, if I'm going to spend my time and my energy and my money and let Jess keep yelling at me, then what is going to be the best benefit for me? And when you have an answer to that, just drop me a line and be like, look, I thought about it. This is what I want to do. How can you help? And it may be that the best thing I can do to help is introduce you to somebody else that can help, at least more than I can. And then based on the answers for that, then we'll have another conversation about what we want to do for Sphere 2. But I would have at least a general idea of where you want to focus, what direction you want to come in. And then I would say at least 3 tasks that you can look at and say, this is what I want to accomplish. Like, I really want to get better at marketing. I really want to make sure that my art is leaps and bounds. Like everybody's impressed with how far I've come in 10 levels. I really want to get capturing legacies on all the social media and build the plan for that and push that. You know, whatever your tasks and your priorities are, spend a little bit of time thinking about that. Okay. For me, anytime that I'm working on that, one of the best things for me to do is sit down with a pen and a paper somewhere by myself where I can only hear my own thoughts, and I would sit for an hour and I would write very simply, I want, at the top of the paper, and then I would write until that paper is full. It can be one-word answers. It can be written in paragraph form. It doesn't matter. Just stream of consciousness. Keep that pen on that paper until that page is done. And if you're rolling, then roll through 3 or 5 or 20 pages. But for me, very often, that helps me understand things that I didn't understand when I started writing. Because it's just me and the paper. A lot of times when we're talking to other people and getting other opinions, we hear their voices and it almost drowns out our own. And so what we think we want, we end up coming to the realization that that wasn't the direction we were supposed to go in. So I would say right now, it sounds like the most important thing for you is to figure out which path you want to take, because there are no wrong paths. Every path is right, as long as you feel good about committing that that is the direction that you're going in.
Hey, that's great advice.
So, okay. Was there anything that you wanted to talk to me about? Questions, comments, concerns? Sphere 2, Sphere 1, just general life?
I think we talk about everything. Yeah, like, you know, it's so crazy that the other day I was watching Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, and you kind of like, I don't know if you've seen that, but I can send you the link. But this guy Joseph Campbell is like, he just understood life and the universe better than anybody else I've ever known. And you watch this hero's journey and you're like, duh, like, holy cow, everything now all of a sudden makes sense in life. It's really quite quite a remarkable movie or video there. So yeah, you know, it's about exactly what you said. You know, you get stagnant, you get in your rut, and you just kind of putter along. And I'm really stubborn, and I'll put up with a whole lot before I break. And I'm puttering along in my rut, and I wasn't going to leave the company. They laid me off, and if they wouldn't have laid me off, I'd still be going there every day at 7:30 in the morning until 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the afternoon, and just day after day doing the same thing and coming home and, you know, trying to get a bunch of other stuff done. Sometimes you need a kick in the butt to wake you up and make you look at doing something completely outside of your comfort zone. And I'm there right now. Like I'm sitting here going, I don't need to get up in the morning every day, but I do. I still get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and try and do something that's going to, you know, further my life in some way. And so, you know, it came at the right time because I was able to burn through Sphere 1 and get it done. But at the same time, I was able to, you know, end up coming. I just, like, out of the blue came up with this idea for capturing legacies, and now everybody I talk to is like, oh my God, what a great idea, you know. And so they say, Joseph Campbell also said, if you're on the right path, then invisible hands will guide you, and doors will appear where there was only walls. And it's so true. Like, you know, you're just, all of a sudden, out of the blue, someone will just phone you that you haven't talked to in a long time, and they'll be like, hey, what's up? And you're like, you tell them, and they're like, oh, did you know that I have a friend who does that, right? You know, whatever. And all of a sudden, it's all happens. It's really magical. So I'm kind of happy and excited, and at the same time stressed and worried, but it's all good.
That's really good though, because if you're not stressed or worried, then you're not challenging yourself enough. Like, the dream should scare you a little bit. You should be uneasy. That's a sign you're out of your comfort zone. You know, like, you didn't feel steady and safe the first time you got up off your hands and knees and tried walking, and you probably fell on your face, you know, and you probably did it the next couple of times. Like, that's what growth is. You know, I also think it's important because people go, oh, you know, the universe conspires to help you reach your goals. Well, the universe sometimes opens the doors and has the friend phone that says, hey, I have this great opportunity. But the universe also sometimes lays you off when you're not expecting it and leaves you, you know, all of a sudden without any income. And that's a way of opening a door too. Like sometimes it's a nice little door hinged on the frame, and sometimes it's a wrecking ball coming through the wall, but they both create openings into other places, you know? So I think that, you know, positive or negative, the experiences that you're having right now are all saying the same thing, which is change, you know? And it's funny because we tend to resist it and we tend to get scared of it. And we tend to go, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? What am I going to do? How am I going to feed my family? You know, why did I have to lose my job? Why did this have to change? But the funny thing is, anytime that I've ever said, where do you see yourself at the end of the sphere? Where do you see yourself next year? What do you want? Nobody's answer is ever exactly where I am right now. So if you don't change, how do you get to somewhere new? Isn't that funny? So I think, I think one of the best things about you, and the thing that's going to help you be successful quickly, is that you have a very good attitude towards it. And a lot of people would be wringing their hands and going, oh, poor me, you know, and it's like, it's done. Like whatever the reasons, however it got there, whatever's bringing you to the state you are, you're very good at rolling with it and going, so this is what the situation is now, and this is what I'm going to do now. And a lot of other people just get stuck in the, why is this situation like this now? It wasn't like this yesterday or last week or last year. You know, how do I get back to that? And you're just like, that's okay. We'll just find another way out. But I do think that with all of the changes that seem to be happening right now, even though I absolutely believe that this is just doors opening for you, that taking a couple of days to process and figure out what you want to do is good. If you're getting a lot of positive feedback and you're feeling exciting about the Capturing Legacies, I can definitely build you a sphere around making that materialize and into reality, and checking and balancing and just helping you close the gaps between beginning that and being successful in it. If you decide that you have a handle on that and that you just want the Arcanum to be something that continues to challenge you artistically and maybe give you a break from the rest of that, then we can build something creative for you, or I can help you find someone that you feel will benefit you. So it's really open-ended right now. Go in and request a level up. We'll put you in Sphere 2. If you decide you want to stay with me, just shoot me a message and be like, hey, I want in your Sphere 2. And you're welcome to just sit in Sphere 2, read through some of the other sphere maps. Take a couple of days and figure out what everybody else is doing. Maybe you'll read through some of the other sphere maps and be like, oh, that sounds fun. I'd love to do that. Or, oh, this totally fits with what I'm trying to do. That might give you an inspiration point. But I think you'll come to something on your own, and then just drop me a line and be like, look, I gave it some thought. This is what I'd like to focus on. This is what I'd like to be doing for the next 10 levels. You can even come up with your own assignments and go, here's my list of 10. What do you think? And I'll just tweak them, you know, and go, these 3 are really good. This one, what if we do this instead, or do it this way? 4 and 5 are going, and I'm going to make you do this instead, and you can hate me later. And 6 through 10 will keep, you know, so it's totally open-ended. If you do decide to level up and come into mine, the first thing that you do, your level 21, is the wishing well exercise. So that'll be the first thing that you do. And then when you're ready, you let me go, and we'll go hard it into Sphere 2 with whatever you want your focus to be.
All right.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's it. I'm hanging up on you now because we're past our hour.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I'm going to quit the broadcast.